Drawing is one of my passions, and even though I can describe my coaching and consulting process in pretty straightforward, logical terms and flow, it really doesn't capture the passion of it. I mean, so in some ways, the way I approach my drawing conveys more of the passion about that process. And I'll tell you a couple of ways that happens. And so when I start with an image, I'm trying to find something that's real compelling about the image that I'm going to draw, because it's going to draw me into it, pun intended. But it's got to be compelling enough to want to be engaged with the drawing. And at the same time, I still need to be open to letting it flow. So in the same way, that's the way I want to approach you if we're involved or engaged in a coaching or consulting engagement. What is it about you that's going to draw me in to the understanding of you? Now, I do think that, what I'm trying to capture here is a static image. And so if I'm working with you, I do want to do it around what are you doing? What's an example of what you're going to do, or an example of what you've done? So yeah, I can look at the drawing, look at you, try to capture it in a certain static moment, but how do I get the complexities of this drawing? How do I get some energy into this drawing? How do I get the complexities of what you're presenting to me? So if I can do that in a way that works in terms of kind of a static experience into more of a high definition one, really, right? Because I'm really working with you as a moment in time, which hopefully is reflective of the bigger picture, but it really is just a snapshot of it. So one of the things I do think, about drawing, and just to really kind of hone in on what I would say are three metaphors, if you will, about the drawing approach that I do. And as you say, I'm using a ballpoint pen, but there are three things about it that I really purposely and consciously use when I'm working with consulting with someone. And one of those is that it really doesn't matter where I start, because where I start gets connected to other pieces. So think of it as dots connecting and lines connecting. So literally on the drawing, whether I started my squiggles over here or over here, some or another, all those lines have to come together to tell a story, to paint a picture. So with you and coaching, it doesn't really matter where we start. That's the first analogy, if you will, I would share with you. It doesn't matter where we start. We're going to end up trying to connect dots. And by connecting those dots, we'll get a richer picture of where you are, where you have come from, and what makes you work. So that's one piece of it. The other one is, one thing about this ink is that it is unforgiving. So you're bound to find mistakes and make mistakes. And certainly that's part of the analogy of working with people trying to get better. There are mistakes you've made, or apparent mistakes. And if I can't eliminate them, because this ink doesn't go away, if I can't eliminate the mistakes, the real challenge for us, from the drawing for me, working with you, is how do I work those mistakes into something that actually adds to the picture, adds to what I'm trying to convey and show. So that's the second one. And then the third one is that whatever I intend to put here, the success of this picture is partly based on what I see in it. I like this drawing as it's unfolding, but your perception of it could be very different. And so I would say again, from the coaching standpoint, you look at what you have produced, and if there's some satisfaction that comes from that from you, then that's a plus. It's also kind of a reality check to say that once you show your picture, show yourself to someone else, they may see something entirely different than what you intended. So those 3 points are real key to me. And I've got to tell you that when I work with folks, it really does draw out the best in me. And I would also say that if you and I are working together, we can draw out the best in you. Now, how would you and I get started? Let's do it this way. Give me 3 pieces of data, 3 dots. The 3 times you were effective as a leader, the 3 times you were ineffective as a leader. Any set of data you want to give me, any set of dots you give me, then our challenge is to connect those dots and see what picture unfolds. You want to get started? Come on, let's get drawing. Greg Pennington, Pennpoint Consulting.